Hello and welcome to the Cavern of Terror.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Cavern of Terror, and welcome to my Scream Season 3 Resurrection Episode 5 spoiler review. So you guys should be used to this by now. At the beginning of every one of these spoiler reviews, I do a quick recap of the previous episode, just so we're caught up before we get into the spoilers of the episode that we are currently on. So what happened in Episode 4? Dion was actually arrested for the attack on Olivia's father. We have a lot of speculation that Olivia might be the killer, and we had the death of Amir, R.I.P. Amir. I'll be completely honest with you guys, there's really not a whole lot for me to talk about here in Episode 5, because it's really just a lead up to Episode 6. It's just the big setup for Episode 6. So we get a lot more, pointing the finger at Olivia. We're thinking at this point that Olivia is the killer. Kim and Beth decide to do like a buddy cop thing, and I actually really liked their scenes in this where Kim has said that this is no longer a horror movie, this is an action movie, this is a buddy cop thing, and Beth is just kind of staring at her like she's an alien from outer space because she doesn't understand the action movie tropes that Kim is talking about, that, they're basically Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan from Rush Hour. And I thought that was a really cool scene. And I thought it was showing a lot of growth for Kim's character to be able to work with Beth. Because, as we know, these two characters have been, going at each other pretty much the entire season so far. This episode makes it really hard for you not to think that Olivia is one of the killers. Because the way that they paint her in this episode, makes her a giant red flag. And, after all the things that she's done, like putting Dion in jail and, slashing the tires and all this stuff, it just makes you really think that Olivia is the killer. And I actually like this actress's acting. And forgive me, I can't remember her name right now. So if you know her name, let me know in the comments down below. There really isn't a whole lot else for me to talk about in Episode 5. This really is a big stepping stone to Episode 6. This really felt like a part 1 to a part 2. Unlike the first 4 episodes, they felt like, complete episodes. This feels like a part 1 to a part 2, if you understand what I'm saying. The one thing I'm really going to focus on for the remainder of this episode is actually Dion's story. Dion actually goes back to the old Mr. Fade theory that we had from, I believe, Episode 2, where Shane was killed. Because when he's picked up at the police station by Jamal, he finds flyers in the back of Jamal's car. And we find out that they're party flyers for a party held by Mr. Fade. So he's like, holy shit, Mr. Fade is back. And he's got to be Ghostface. So he has to go and talk to Jamal. They do end up having a conversation later in his car. And Dion is like, hey, football isn't no longer a thing for me. I got arrested. The coach isn't even looking at me anymore. Jamal kind of judges him there because he wants better for him. He doesn't want him to get into this world, and they end up coming to an agreement. Dion basically begs Jamal to have him work for him because he needs to find out who Mr. Fade is. Later that night, Dion eventually does go to the party held by Mr. Fade, and Jamal says that he has information for him. So they leave the party, and they find out that Mr. Fade is actually Jamal. This naturally freaks out Dion. Like, he wants to tell Jamal what's going on, but he doesn't really want Jamal to be involved in this. And he basically spills the beans after some pressuring from Jamal. And he basically says to his brother that there is a serial killer coming after them. And this is where it gets kind of weird, because Jamal says a couple things that makes Dion believe that he's Ghostface. And he does the whole finger point thing from the second episode. I believe, it was the second episode. And this makes Dion believe that Jamal is Ghostface. Like I said, guys, there really isn't a whole lot else to this episode. It is a big stepping stone to Episode 6, but we will talk about the kill here. Big boy gets stabbed in the head, and he actually puts up a pretty big fight. This reminded me of Anthony, what is his name? Anthony Blackish. The dude from Anthony, what is his name? I can't remember his name. Let me know down in the comments down below. But his death in Scream 4. Now, it wasn't as over the top as that one, but he was stabbed in the head, and there's a lot of blood, and he ends up dying. And of course, Ghostface is in the hospital here, and we have Dion believing that Jamal is there, and he can't get to Ghostface. When he goes to attack Olivia's father, he actually pulls out the breathing tube, and Dion has to go in and try to give him CPR and chest compressions to try to bring him back, and he does eventually bring back Olivia's father. So I was on edge for that one. But in the end, guys, that's really all that happens in episode 5. It was a good episode, but I feel like it really was a part 1 to part 2, unlike the other episodes that really did feel like full episodes. So what did you think of episode 5? What do you think moving forward? Do you think that Jamal is one of the Ghostface killers? I still have a theory here about Dion, but I can't be sure about that. Let me know down in the comments down below what you guys thought of this episode. We only have one episode left, episode 6 of Scream Resurrection. If you like this video, guys, make sure you give it a big motherfucking thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And if you want to see the continuation, the final episode review of Scream Resurrection, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you get notified about all my future content. And if you want to follow me on social media, all the links to those accounts are in the description box down below. But most importantly, guys, I'm Zach. This has been the Cavern of Terror. Stay metal, my friends. 3, 2, 1.